major in behavior analysis. What's amazing about our group dynamic is that we are spread across the world. Our group is filled with diversities ranging from different ethnicities to differences of opinions to different work code ethics. We will be offering you an informal debate this evening. We have enjoyed preparing this presentation for you, and we hope you enjoy watching it. My name is Victoria Kelleher, and I am from Hawaii, and I'm the introducer for our group. I will be introducing each speaker along with their role during our debate tonight. I will also be touching on their different topics later in the presentation. Also joining us tonight is Edward Kamara from Maryland. He's a summarizer and researcher for the cons side of gift giving. And on the opposing side is Rafael Ochoa from Utah.
Yes.
He will be speaking on the pros side of gift giving. Later in the discussion, we will meet Cassie Lau, who is joining us from Hong Kong. She is our illustrator and will focus on the facts, graphs, and data to support each side's arguments. Finally, we will be meeting Chris Kendall from Indiana, and he's our fielder who will wrap up our debate with everyone's favorite part, the Q&As. So to begin, we must provide a little background of why this topic is so important to us and how it can cause some controversies depending on who you ask. Gift giving seems to be pretty innocent, right? Well, according to the BACB, section 1.06D, behavior analysts do not accept any gifts from or give any gifts to clients because this constitutes a multiple relationship. The members of our group have done extensive research over the past several weeks and found that giving and accepting gifts is not simple at all. In fact, we found that gift giving is a lot more complex, and we plan to go into complete detail about this tonight. To understand why gifts are a gray area, we must first understand what constitutes as a gift. So, according to Compter and Volleberg, in 1997, they labeled gifts as presents of a tangible form, including food, also lodging and care or help. Next, as behavior analysts, we also want to take into account the function of one's behavior in gift giving. Is it to gain attention? Is it to gain automatic reinforcement? Is it to escape something or someone? Is it to get a tangible, perhaps a gift in return? These are all important factors that we have researched and want to share with you to see all your thoughts on the matter. Although we could probably discuss this topic much longer, we have broken up our debate into 3 arguments. First, Raphael and Edward will talk about how clients giving gifts to therapists can aid in strengthening or hurting their working relationship. Second, we will touch on the different cultural aspects involved when gifting or receiving a gift. And finally, we will highlight the act in which a therapist gives their client a gift. Ask yourself this: is there ever really a good time to give or accept a gift? According to Compter and Volleberg, gift giving often serves as a cement of social relationships. So if our ultimate goal as behavior analysts is to work on social validity with our clients, are we hurting their social communication by taking away their desire to give us gifts? First up, to discuss his side of the argument, is Raphael. Raphael, can you explain how accepting gifts from the client and their family can aid in strengthening your working relationship?
Thank you so much, Victoria, and thank you for that great introduction. So I believe as BCBAs and consultants, one of our biggest advantages is allowing us to give and receive gifts to build that rapport. And I think giving gifts and receiving gifts builds that rapport so well. So according to Compter and Volleberg, when clients give gifts or are given gifts, most clients feel affection. And with that affection comes enjoyment of spending time with that person. If that person is willing to spend more time with that other person, there will be a better opportunity to run targets, interventions, and have that trust from them. One of our biggest goals as BCBAs, as shown on Ethical Code 209, is to provide an effective treatment plan. So to be able to provide that most effective treatment plan, we have to gain their trust and build that. We can't do that unless we're using all our resources, and I think gift giving and gift receiving is one of those biggest resources that we have. Could you imagine having a client that's just getting used to you, just getting like that trust built, and they want to show you that gratitude that you've helped them with a gift? If you were to deny that, they would probably not want to trust you anymore. They wouldn't want to build that relationship anymore because they would feel like you're not invested the same way that they are. I personally have a story that I believe fits in very well with this scenario. when I was in college, I had a professor write a letter of recommendation for me just to be able to get into this program that I really wanted to get into. She wrote a great letter of recommendation. I loved it. I was so happy I got the position that I was looking for. And when I went to go thank her and give her a gift card that I had gotten at Starbucks, she denied. She said she could not accept this. There was no way, and did not explain anything about it. I felt very hurt. I felt like she did not appreciate what I had thought about her. She did not think that I was an important person. It did not feel good about me. And this was before I had learned about ethical codes and what she was doing. So in my head, I just believed that she didn't want to accept this gift from me. And I could just imagine a client feeling the same way. So thank you so much, Victoria.
Those are some great points. I think now Cassidy has a couple of things that she wants to show us to back Raphael's claims. Cassidy?
Yes, you're right. I will share the graph with you. So this table, to back up Raphael's points about instead of filling applications, this table was retrieved from the article by Compter and Rollerberg, 1997. The results show that feelings of affections are reported more than feelings of obligation for all categories of gift recipients.
That's perfect. Thank you for sharing that, Raphael and Cassidy. Edward, can you provide some reasons and statements how Raphael may be wrong in his findings?
Thank you for such a great introduction, Victoria. And yes, it is true that giving and accepting gifts can help clients build relationships, as pointed out by the pro side. However, this form of shared experience, according to Zurich, in an article that they wrote in 2017, highlighted the fact that accepting even small gifts from client has been viewed as a potential first step on a slippery slope towards sexual and other form of exploitative relationships. The pro side also mentioned Compter and Goldberger, saying that it might be accurate in expressing that a client might feel affectionate from giving a gift instead of feeling obligated to reciprocate the gift. However, once again, according to the research done by Zero in 2017, they pointed out that in some instances, a client's gift giving can be an attempt to influence or manipulate the therapist in an effort to buy love or to gain favor. So we have to keep that into consideration as part of, they might feel like it's an affectionate way for them to share how they're feeling, but at the same time, it also might be them trying to buy love or gain favor. Great point, Raphael, as far as how you felt based on what your teacher rejecting your gift. It's also true that rejecting the gift might come up as rude and inconsiderate, as expressed by the example given by the pro side. However, as behavior analysts, we should outline the reasons for not accepting gifts before being offered the gift. It is our responsibility to educate our clients on the risk associated with accepting and giving gifts. Risks such as dual relationship and behavior analysts feeling obligated to return the gifts. Back to you, Victoria.
Those are some great points. Cassidy, do you have anything to add to the discussion to back up Edward's claims?
Yes, I do. I have a research to back up both of them.
Oh, perfect.
So this table was retrieved from the article by Weeks, Boardhead, Addington, and Barron, 2018. They conducted an online survey on the practice of accepting gifts among behavior analysts. They supported both sides of their argument. To back up Raphael's points, when participants were asked about whether refusing a gift would be offensive to clients, 44 of 57 indicated it would be offensive. Participants indicated that refusal could be offensive for cultural and therapeutic reasons. To support Edward's point, when asked if accepting a gift from clients would alter the relationship, 44 of 57 indicated that it would. Reasons that accepting gifts would alter the relationship include developing new relationship, obligation to return favor, and possibility of starting a slippery.
Those are some really great points, and it looks like there's still kind of a gray area, seeing as those come from the same article. So next we're going to kind of talk about the cultural aspect. And I think it's safe to say, and we can all agree, that respecting someone's culture is essential for a working relationship. But as analysts, do we need to conform to the cultural norms of our clients, or does our professional and ethical code take priority? Raphael, what are your thoughts on this?
Thank you, Victoria. So I believe when it comes to culture, it's very important as BCBAs that work with such a wide variety of people that we really take advantage of the position that we're in and we celebrate these cultures. Really, when it comes down to it, a lot of these families use culture and are part of that culture, and it's really important to them. So we must find a way to be able to celebrate it. According to the Compliance Code and Ethics Code 1.05, we have to find an effective way to be able to use culture. And if it affects the treatment plan at all, we have to find a way to fix that. So what that means is when it comes to culture, if there's anything like gift giving or a certain cultural aspect that we need to use, we need to find the best way to use that. It's all about being effective for the client. I personally work with a lot of Latino families, and I am Latino, so I know how those families work. And when it comes to gift giving, edibles is so important, and they want to find any way possible to try to give back to this therapist that's doing so much for their family. So by not accepting that gift of edibles or small gratitude gifts, you're disrespecting that family and telling them that you don't think that they need to give you this. They aren't important enough for you to accept this. So I always have to train the RBTs that are working with these families to accept it as much as they can, because it's so important to that family. And if you break that trust, they're not going to run programs and help us out in doing the best for that kid. Thank you, Victoria.
Those are some really great points. I'm curious to see your thoughts on this, Edward.
It's true that Code 1.05 do talk about professional and scientific relationship, which state that BCBA must be aware of cultural and technical differences. However, Code 1.06 also says that due to potential harmful effects of multiple relationships, behavior analysts must avoid multiple relationships. Behavior analysts must always be sensitive to the potential harm effects of multiple relationships. If a behavior analyst finds that due to unforeseen factors, multiple relationship has arisen, they must seek to resolve these complications. With that being said, I agree with Bailey and Butch in the article written in 2016 on the idea that the client must conform to the culture of the behavior analyst rather than behavior analyst respecting the client's culture. I do, however, understand that it's difficult to build rapport without breaking Code 1.06 multiple relationship. However, as professionals, we must not be viewed as guests, but so much as trained professionals in the homes of the clients to provide a duty. As far as I know, doctors do not receive handwritten notes or cookies for providing such good jobs to their clients. I also feel as behavior analysts, we should feel that the services that we are providing and the strive that the clients are making should be all of the gratification that we need. As already stated, gifts are often an unspoken quid pro quo. Accepting a gift might mean that you also have to provide a gift to the client. Based on a research conducted by Sheehan, Wen, and Ware in 2010, they found that Asians are more likely than North Americans to refuse small gifts that are offered to them. And the reason for this being is that they do not want to feel the need to reciprocate the gift. Based on personal experience, actually last year during Christmas time, before being aware of Code 1.06, I was offered a $50 gift card by a client's parents. even without being aware of 1.06, I felt the need to do something back for the client. So what I did was I used half of the money and put like a card for them and give it to the client. So without even being aware of all of these codes, I did feel the need to return the favor. Back to you, Victoria.
Thank you for those great points, Edward, and thank you for sharing your personal experiences to back up your claim. Cassidy, do you have anything to add to help Edward persuade us?
Yes. So this table was retrieved from the article by Chan Wire to understand how people with different cultural backgrounds would respond to gift accepting. 26% of Canadian participants will let a friend pay for a taxi fee when given a hypothetical situation, whereas only 9% of Hong Kong participants would make that choice. The percentage of insist on paying one's own fee for Hong Kong participant was much higher than Canadian participant, 91% versus 59%. The next table here shows that actually they replicated the experiment using different scenarios to provide more evidence on the cultural differences in response to gift accepting. The results again show that Hong Kong participants were less willing to taste a free gift than Canadian participants. Also, Hong Kong participants anticipated feeling more indebted than Canadian participants, and they were less appreciative of the gifts. Lastly, they conducted another experiment on how the relationship with the gift giver would affect people's reactions on gift accepting. Both Hong Kong and Canadian participants reported feeling more uncomfortable to receive gifts from a casual acquaintance than receive it from a close friend. However, as you can see, Hong Kong participants were significantly less willing to accept gifts from a casual acquaintance than from a close friend. The mean of willingness to accept gifts from acquaintances is 3.76 versus 4.88. This difference was not as apparent among Canadian participants. In terms of feelings of indebtedness, Hong Kong participants also anticipate feeling more indebted than Canadian participants when the gift was given by a casual acquaintance.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cassidy, for sharing with us those margins. So lastly, we've discussed how giving and receiving gifts is against our ethical code guidelines, but where does building rapport come into play with all of this? So as you know, part of building rapport can include sometimes giving our clients toys, food, and other tangibles in order to pair. Would this constitute as a multiple relationship, and are we being unethical in this practice? So, Raphael, what are your thoughts on this?
Thank you so much, Victoria. And I do not believe that we're being unethical if we are giving these gifts. I think that is one point that we don't discuss enough when we're talking about the ethics of gift giving. The fact that BCBAs are constantly bringing things to the table like edible reinforcers, toys, little small items for the kid to use, that is something that would be considered a gift, and we do it so much that I don't see why we can't allow it to be a little bit bigger and make bigger gifts available for these kids. If our main point is to make an effective program for these kids, we need to use any resource possible. I personally have had issues trying to pair with kids and have found that gift giving was the perfect way to fix that problem. One time I had a client, I had been with them for about 3 weeks. For those 3 weeks, every session that I had with them for about 3 hours was filled with tantrums and violence, and there was no work being done. So instead of not being effective and trying every other mean, I decided to ask the parents if there was anything that that client really likes. It turned out that he loved McDonald's French fries. So I decided, since it's on the way to work, I'd grab him a large fry, take it to the client's house and try to use it and see if it would work. That session was the first time I was able to run any programs. It worked perfectly. And at the end of the session, I mentioned to the client that if he is able to continue this behavior, I will keep bringing French fries. It worked perfectly for about 3 weeks. We started fading that French fry out. It turned into once a week to once a month to eventually we didn't have to have that. But that rapport had built up so well that there was no need for an edible reinforcer anymore. So I think to have that option to be able to give the client something that will help them pair with you, and since we're BCBAs, being able to fade that eventually is a really important thing. And that's why I think gifts should be allowed to be given. Blanco 2012 has a really good point that says that they surveyed a couple BCBAs and told them how they were able to pair, and a lot of them said edibles was a great way to build and strengthen those relationships. Thank you, Victoria.
I love your take on that, Raphael, and you made some really great points. Edward, how can you add to this discussion?
I definitely believe that when it comes to therapists providing gifts to clients, it can be a blurry line. But I do believe that the parents should be the one providing those reinforcements to the kids as far as their buying. So in your example, Raphael, you spoke on how you had or felt the need to buy the clients the fries in order for you to have a productive therapy session. But I also believe that in that particular example that you gave, the parents could have been the one buying the fries and giving it to you so you can be the reinforcer, the fun person providing that gift to the client. So you did not necessarily need to buy the gift for the clients. I also believe that as far as tangible items, they can be bought from by the company. It doesn't necessarily have to be bought by the therapist. So the company can buy the tangible items, and those tangible items must be implemented during sessions as a reinforcer for the client. And the client should not have access to those materials when the therapist is not there. So, for example, my company, how we do is when you come in from the first day, you have a box of reinforcers of most of the things that we think the clients like. And we have a lock and key to it. And when we're not present, the client doesn't have access to that material, only when we're there. So it's our verse, yeah, you're still pairing with the clients, but it's within the session. It's not necessarily just buying it for them to do stuff, but it's part of the program that we're running. All right, back to you, Victoria.
Thank you guys both for all of this information. I think that we have some really solid points on both sides. At this time, I'd like to open up the debate to Chris to introduce our questions and answer section of our debate.
Hey, Victoria, thank you for opening it up to my side. My first question is to Raphael. Raphael, can you answer an example of when a therapist should make an exception for receiving a gift?
Thank you so much, Chris. Yeah, so it does come to mind that an article by Stein states that generally therapists should not accept gifts, but there's always an exception, and one of those exceptions is the gift is given by the client. We don't want to destroy that relationship and that client's self-worth, so we should accept any gift that's given by the client if it's going to affect their self-worth. So I think it's really important to know that these clients are really putting a lot and investing a lot into us. We're in their lives a lot. So I think if there's ever a time that we feel that these clients are trying to reach out and show us that they care, we should accept those gifts.
Well, I appreciate that, Raphael. Thank you very much. My next question is to Edward. Edward, in the instance of the scenario, which is inevitable, being presented a gift, is there a proper way to decline the family or client of the presented gift?
Yes, certainly there's a proper way for you to do that. And definitely you can look at it from the perspective of being sympathetic and explain to the client that I do appreciate the gift. However, based on our professional and ethical code, which is what we're guided by, we have this code as a way to ensure that we're doing the right practice for our clients. So even though it might come off as we're being inconsiderate to them, in the long run is for the betterment of them. So definitely we can explain that based on our ethical code, we cannot accept the gift. However, we do appreciate the fact that they thought about us and felt the need to offer us a gift.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, Edward, and I believe our introducer, Victoria, has a question she would like to ask me.
Yes, I do, Chris. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I actually happen to know that you are our RBT that currently works in the clinical setting. So I know in our debate we've talked a lot about the client and therapist relationship and gift giving and receiving gifts there. So what would you say your personal opinions are when providing behavior analytical services in the clinical setting? Do you think it's okay for a parent to gift toys or other things to a clinic in order to benefit the overall clinic and the kids? So, for example, they wouldn't necessarily be giving the therapist a gift, but they'd be gifting the clinic overall a gift. And does this constitute a multiple relationship if it's specifically being used for our clients' programs?
Well, I appreciate that question, Victoria. I think if the parent gave it to one client particularly, or their kid that was a client particularly, it would be a dual relationship. But I work in a clinical setting, and we have a parent that donates regularly, and I feel that's what it is, a donation, not a gift. And those toys or trampolines or gifts that are presented benefit all the clients in the clinic, not just one client.
Perfect. I love that you were able to kind of give us an insight on your personal opinion, being that you are in the clinical setting. So that concludes our debate tonight. I think both sides made some pretty excellent points, and we thank you so much for joining us today to discuss the ethical implications of giving and receiving gifts. We hope that you are able to gain some great understanding, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on this and can't wait to see all your differences of views and opinions. We'll see you later.
Bye.
See you guys.
Toodles.